That's it for the moment. Enjoy. Floor is yours. Our turn now is this side. Move a little bit over here if you want. all come to this side and maybe give them a little bit more space. Sorry. Yeah.
In this room are some of the most extraordinary specimens of planet Earth. These creatures are half deaf, half blind, and do not follow civilized communication. These wonderfully bizarre creatures go by the name of human beings. They live off Instagram likes, retweets, prayers, and good vibes. These are not easily digested. Therefore, individuals carry around stereotypes, political beliefs, and personal opinions, making them highly hypercritical and slow at progress and change.
You can stay where you are. Okay, we all move over to this side again. As we set ourselves up to have an awesome day, present with what is, open-minded, available, for whatever the universe has in store. Take a moment to begin to notice your breath, and as you do that, soften your gaze or close your eyes. So we're sitting up tall, closing the eyes, despite maybe feeling a little sleepy, don't worry. And we're gently beginning to deepen the breath. And as you're ready, nice and slow, you're going to drop your chin to your chest. And then lift your nose up towards the sky. Slow and steady, dropping the chin. And then nose to the heaven. Start to sync up with nice, full, conscious breaths. Nodding the head. And then bring it back to center stillness. And you're just going to take it in the opposite direction now, side to side. Excuse me. Taking your nose to the left and to the right. Nice and easy. Then come back to center. Reset, sit up nice and tall. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. And you're going to take your hands now to your belly, just nice, gentle hand to belly connection. Begin to breathe downward into your hands. Nice, full, conscious breath in. Belly expands. Nice, mindful, slow exhalation. Navel draws in. And keep the hands there. You can replace them back to your knees or your thighs. Whatever feels best this morning, today. But continue the full diaphragmatic breath. Waking up. Let's all move to this side. And again, move a little bit backward.
What is the plan?
Yes, what do you maybe some feedback, questions, commentaries, what you're thinking of to the different stations you just saw. I would be interested in what was your starting question.
Oh. Don't take up. No, like, I don't know, like, it was not so much a starting question, but it was improvisation we started yesterday, and it was like the task was that they could either like individual groups or individually or in groups they could like propose like something that juxtaposed two different things, and then from the first sketches we went on to always react to what was seen. So there was like a continuous chain of like improvisation that reacted to the improvisation that was before, that was before, that was before. So there was things that were like they were reoccurring or reappearing because they came from a different improvisation. And I think it was more like that today we just decided to continue with this principle and to be like, okay, what was there at the end, we will show. Yeah, but I think throughout the workshop we spoke about lots of other stuff, and maybe a little bit my interest was to work with stuff that you really don't identify with, or with material that you really don't have a connection to also, that's really maybe random, and then how do you relate it to something that's maybe the opposite of that or something. Yeah, I don't know, you can add if you miss something or if you like.
I think that, I don't know, like for me, this last 2 days of tasks, which the results kind of on that point of which we presented now, was very much also based on all of the work which was done, because I felt like, I mean, we read a lot and we got to know Joana's work a lot, and I feel like, yeah, it's all kind of, like through our talks, through our like also theoretical discussions, then it's just some glimpses of like what's been boiling there, but in more like physical and also playful mode.
Yes. Yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe everything that we did before, I think it was there now, but we never like said, okay, this is how we integrate it, but maybe more like a trusting that whatever we discussed, whatever we did before, it would reappear in this improvisational task. Yeah.
Question, commentary, feedback.
I mean, maybe it's also just nice to say what you saw, like without any like interpretation or just.
Let's give it some time.
I saw some connections between some pieces, and I saw some maybe society representation, some comedy, and
Anything to add from your side still, since we are all on it. I would then just continue with the second group. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we will be done. Thank you.
To all of you. And for the second group, I would ask you to sit on the wall, slightly into the corner.
Don't get Oh, yeah, that's true. it outside. Clement. Don't want to forget this. David, I'm giving this to you. You can also your chairs, you know.
Wo passiert jetzt das nächste? In dem We have that one that's a total from the whole room, so you see everyone, and then we have from the corner.
Yeah, or front, if you can maybe. Actually.
This one? Alright.
It should be. I hope you didn't copy it.
Sorry.
Okay, hi everyone. We have a request, or I have a request. So, we're working with lights out. And how we'd like to do this is, I would like to say lights out. And when I say that, to ask you to close your eyes. And then when I say lights up, to ask you to open your eyes. If that's okay. And we will do this twice at different times. Okay, so lights out. And lights up. Lights out. Lights up.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Lights out.
Thanks a lot to you, as long as you're still catching your breath. Maybe a first question to you, Joy, what was your starting point?
Working with an idea of perceptual practice. So, and what we're thinking or practicing in our perceptions as we're dancing could be choreography. So maybe what we think about or are questioning can be generative for dancing. And if there might be a means by which we could put different questions together in a way that it generates moving rather than us having to think about what to do. And so we drew a lot upon questions from a choreographer called Deborah Hale, the questions that she works with, and then we placed that practice in a kind of frame, in a score of solo 7 dances, 9 dances, with continuous motion. So a kind of, I guess, like placing of dancing under focus, like under inspection, and what happens in our experience of dancing if we just lots of things are happening and changing, but what if it's just one thing? It just keeps going.
Interesting to hear from the others what you would add to this description, or how you would maybe phrase the questions that you have been thinking about.
I must say that in the beginning it was very, very hard to apply the questions, because normally we are used to answer the questions. But in this case, we got stuck in the beginning in this idea to answer the questions, and so it was hard to translate through movement. But at some point, through the practice, we realized that the idea actually is not to answer the question, is to make the question. And I don't know if it makes sense, because we were like 5 days applying this, and for us it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, it was incredible work.
Maybe to name some questions, I don't know, to make it more
Yeah.
less
Okay.
abstract maybe. It's we start with a question that was I hope I say it right. what if the question, what if where I am is what I need, is not about what I need, but about asking the question, like a reminder to ask the question, what if where I am is what I need? So basically, that we ask ourselves repeatedly while we move and find movement and accept those movements, to not have this doubts or judgment upon ourselves, but to always have this openness to our movement, to be like, what if this is what I need? I don't know. And that was kind of the opener to the other questions, that helped us to find movement within those questions and not just our usual improv dance where we perform or try to impress or something.
Yeah, I feel like it's also a lot about like observing what asking that question does to you and which other influences like affect the way you're moving, and just to be very clear about like what is actually making you move
And then at one point we had like 7 questions at once, like now, so also different instructions, like no walking, lifting the veil, like having an open focus, always seeing and being then inspired what we see to move and not searching for moving on. Now I'm gonna go to the floor and I'm gonna do a roll. That's to find movement and accept it.
Yeah, and also I think in addition to that, the challenge was to keep the questions alive while we're doing this motion, and also to not present, but instead inviting the witness to see what we are doing.
Yeah, we talked a lot about the idea that this is a practice and not a performance, and we worked also with the idea that the other people, so the audience, but us too, are practicing also the questions that I am practicing. So when we acknowledge each other, we also take in consideration that, yeah, it's a practice and not a performing mode.
But also to mention in this practice, we are also acknowledging that there is an audience, not to like be in our own world.
But the system you chose was very much to stay into movement. So the questions couldn't have led you to a kind of performative action or whatsoever, kind of reduction, or how did you set the frame for it?
So this is a big conversation. So what is motion?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if I'm still, I can be very active in my practice. So rather than saying you can't be still, the invitation is to let go of getting stuck in one place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still a problem. So that's a problem. You might say continuous motion, but that might be still, but I need to not be stuck in one place and let go of pausing. So the intention being, I guess choreographically, that you have these elements that do something that aren't resolved, and so I have to try and work them out in practice. So that, I guess that's the premise, that I have these things that generate something and I'm trying to deal with them.
Like we're staying in motion, but we try to not lock in the emotion. I try to let go, like not really stuck in one thing forever.
Yeah, thank you very much for this experience. I just wanted to share a bit also like what I felt as an audience, because since we were asked to also then like close our eyes and open our eyes, it already put me in a position of observing a performance, not a practice, because it's very choreographical decision. And then I really felt like there are a lot of solo in one space, and I really
I felt as an audience that I'm put in the position to compare somehow, and I really found it very difficult for myself. That like I don't want to compare, but I feel like my attention goes to compare because I see so many solos at the same time and they're not stopping, and there is no pause and there is no breathe out, and I found myself in a bit of like, and then it became at one point even a struggle, and then like at the end for me it was like a lot about this kind of neoliberalism, capitalistic, like you have to go, compare. But it was like this feeling which I had as an audience member while observing this performance, though like each and every solo was very kind of alive and present, but then when they're all together, it felt it felt like I'm in the market where I have to choose, you know.
For me as an audience, I would say that it was very interesting to observe each individuals, and I had a very strong sensation of time watching this. Because it was fast and was all the time going on. And I was seeking, then after I was asking myself which relationship they have in the space, if they have some relationships or not. And I had sensation at the end that they are tired, that's why it's going a little bit down. But this is what really makes me questioning, and the sensation of time, I think, was something. And dynamic-wise, I found that it connects something them. Like as a whole group, something is that connects them in terms of dynamic of the movement, in terms of time. I didn't find any relationship, that's why I was wondering why they are all together. But it was very beautiful also to watch at the beginning the solo. It was like, because the focus was of this motion, like I could really see the motion. I was in the museum last time and it was about like exploding, and the object exploded, and it was really focused on the object, so I could really see the motion of a piece moving and then until somewhere arrived. But here in the group, and after a little moment, I was really questioning how it's going on more. But it was still very beautiful to watch individuals.
I was also questioning about like if it's individual work and like we all written together or whatever. It's like our individual work. It's like individual research in the same space. We just like have this feeling that we are dancing in the same space, but it's not more than that. This is what I actually understand, how I understand, and it's also more. I mean, we are more focusing on we not stop dancing in a way, like with these questions we are keep on exploring, but of course I understand from the outside it can be like dynamic, why it is like, but for me it's more the focus on we're not stopping. I don't know, maybe I'm messing up again.
Maybe to say to this, I found it really important that there was soul in the beginning, so I could kind of stick with this story of each individual, and then when there was a lot of people moving all the time, if I look at it as the whole, like in the space, it might be really overwhelming, but I found myself having rest when I really stick with the person and see the story that the person develops, and then maybe I change. And then maybe I look again, and then it's again become a little bit like, wow. And then I go again into the rest. So this, like from one point into this mass, it was really like a nice connection to me. I could find myself in this.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, I would like to say something. I think that the practice with the questions is very interesting because behind the movement, behind these days of investigation, of research, you always are thinking in the questions. And of course, we are not looking at an answer, but behind the movement, always I find the question. And it's like, for me, it was like a practice of meditation, you know? When you find a mantra and you repeat the mantra, and behind the movement, you have this mantra that is the answer to the practice. It's not the real, maybe for the audience, it's a random choreography, and of course the composition of the movements in the space is random, probably aleatory, but behind the movement we have this mantra. I connect with this idea, and I think that more or less was the same for us.
And could you give an example of a question? Because now when I'm like listening this, I would really love like to read. I don't know how many questions you have, but I would love to read these questions.
So we had the ones that Hela said about asking myself the question, what if where I am is what I need? So the question is not about what do I need, it's reminding me to ask the question, what if maybe where I am is what I need? And then we had, what if my whole body is my teacher, my only teacher? Then we had, what if I see where I am in order to surrender where I am, in order to accept somehow. So there was a lot of like this acceptance and feeling sufficient, feeling that what you are doing is enough.
So my question is, why you move fast? Asking you this question.
We also we have the task to keep in continuous motion, so that's one of the choreographic choices that is clear. And about the speed and the notion of time that you mentioned, one of the other tasks was how can we remove our sequencing, and so it's in order to not stay in a sequence, in a pattern, in our like time habits, in our like the usual speed that we move. So we are also working on this, like how can I change my sequencing of movement? And of course, it's one of the questions amongst many, so it appears sometime in our mind, but it's not there all the time, so we cannot focus on all the questions all the time. So we jump from one to another, and maybe as a group it feels like there is a notion of speed that is there, but it's not like we don't have to move fast. It's just also maybe the dynamics that we had today, but it's not.
Maybe it's also the attention of audience, no?
It can be indeed. It depends on our
What does it change in your kind of inner attitude as a dancer? When you ask yourself these questions while improvising, does this change something in your own perception? And how does it possibly change that?
How?
I mean, I don't think change
In relation to other improvisational processes, for example.
It depends on the question, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I can only speak for myself. Different questions do different things, and also at every point, the same question can make me feel a different way. For example, the first question that we got introduced was, what if where I am is what I need? And it changed my perception and my experience. It changed a lot. It felt like a little cushion to judgment that I would usually automatically just use when I move. And that's why this was kind of like a new instance in my head of generating movement. Introduced, there can be different institutions or different authorities to induce movement. It can be external, it can be emotional,
can be an outside eye that I'm looking at myself and I want to achieve some certain form, or like I should do this or I should be interesting, and this is like a new kind of authority or a new proposition, a new instance that is like making me move, and is much softer and much more open in my experience.
I'm sorry, I have one just question if to each individuals. So in this, what you show now, you all the time were asking yourself different question, or it was just one question you choose? Different questions all the time. Okay.
Sometimes it was like one question at a time, and then there were like
I see.
many
I see.
questions over the
Also, we had some instructions too, next to the questions, which sometimes also put tension between questions.
But this was a question by Deborah Hay.
Yeah.
And Deborah Hay says they're tricks.
What?
She says they're tricks.
The
Like,
tricks.
they're not profound. Maybe they are profound, but no big deal. And they're impossible. And they're just tricks to do something choreographic.
So having a look at the time.
Mhm.
Thanks a lot.
That's well done.
I would ask the last. Sorry.
Just in die Kammer spielen. Danke für die
mentally to check where the others are, and then see if you want to change something in the space.
Live from the boiler room Berlin. No, live from the boiler room Berlin. Prossimo.
And then pick a partner and start to develop the pulse and kind of get closer to them. So we tried a little bit to go through some sort of a practice jam session as we kind of have been working. In terms of departure point, there is like always when I start working with people a very basic, more or less presence exercise that I introduce, which has to do with deciding for a front in the space, and usually I really like working with a back wall as some sort of a canvas or a frame for a human body configured. And so we would be looking together at the space, and then one person at a time enters, and I emphasize really like start to place yourself somewhere where you feel comfortable. So really going for what is my need now, where do I feel good? And then there's like a time frame for each person. I think we practice between usually 1 minute or 2 minutes for the person just standing there and taking in how you feel, you know, like are you nervous, how are you breathing, are you tensing, where's your weight, like anything basically that's present. And then after, let's say the 2 minutes, you exit again. And so every person does that in a group, and like this, I feel the beauty that I find it is that quite quickly you sense, just simply by the way, you know, where someone is, or how they stand, or sit, or lie, you get a feeling for the person. And the person has, in a way, the space and the time to kind of process everything that's happening in the moment. And usually I do it also in ways where we'll sometimes start with a warm-up, where I talk through some sort of a body scan, and you know, like talk us through different things of feeling weight, like small movements in joints, or like small shifts. Also, sometimes I apply a little bit of like visualizations, like, you know, where are you in the room? Even if you have your eyes closed, can you imagine other bodies around you? How close are you to a wall? Like stuff like this. And so the idea is that we start connecting this experience of like, you know, somatic scanning, maybe some sort of like visualizations of your own body in space in relationship to other bodies, and then how to start bringing that into some sort of a relationship where you're being seen and witnessed as you're being in the space. And so for us, that was in a way the departure point to start also finding movement. So yeah, like little things like weight shifts. I just, you know, like talk through maybe systems or how I look at the body, or how I work with isolation and stillness and starting to move, to give you tools so that within the practice then you can make decisions in real time. And that, yeah, I find it quite important for myself to work with music. That's why I've also throughout the days like played different kinds of music that I like to work with. And this question of like, how do you relate to music? Like, do you move on music? How much do you move on music? When do you develop your own sense of musicality through what you're doing? Yeah, maybe that's enough from my side. Maybe you want to share a little bit what your experience was.
Was there a special reason for having shoes?
Yeah, because I always work in shoes. I do feel, I mean, it has different reasons. One is that I think I'm interested in evoking some sort of an everyday body. So that's one reason for me to wear shoes. Then I think also because my feet are not very flexible. For me, like I feel like over the years working in shoes has, like it helps me do stuff with my foot that otherwise, you know, I'd probably injure myself quite quickly. And yeah, I think a lot of times also in dance training it can be almost a go-to to not wear shoes, and then maybe it's just like later on as a costume, and like so for me it's a little different. Like within my practice, I sometimes warm up without shoes, but other than that I just wear shoes, and so I wanted to share that.
Because it gives immediately, as I was searching for things because of that, and it gives a style immediately. Now I know it's your style also, but yeah, interesting.
I like usually I also propose like come sometimes with regular clothes, see how that's different to training clothes.
Is there any, because I really love the music, is there any
you decided to do, like, for me, what was kind of music and process, or you just work with this kind of things?
I mean, that was two different things from the same artist. And the first track was from the piece I just did. So I think it's because it's something that's familiar to me right now that I care a lot about. So that's why I started using it. And the second one, I just find that kind of groove that it immediately has is very helpful. Like today, we worked a little bit on seeing is there some sort of like we started to warm up with lots of heel rocking and then shifting the initiation of rocking in the body. And like this, finding different qualities of bouncing, shifting, rocking, pulsing, whatever you want to name it. And I find that second track, for example, quite good as a base if you want to go into that kind of movement.
Did you work in this studio?
We worked yesterday and a bit today.
I was just also curious, like the shadow and everything, like how much did you use it on purpose? Because I really felt like each of you really feel the space and know the space. And the space was very like vibrant, so I was curious like how much time did you really spend here in music festival?
I think this has to do with this transparency, what we were working on. So for example, during these 5 days, we always started with just placing ourselves in space, in whatever pose we want, with just accepting what we feel, and just sharing this to the space, to the room, to the people that watch us. And I think this gave us the awareness of space and to each other in general. I think it's I didn't know that it will have such a big impact, but it did. So I think that's more this than space. The difference.
I must say that I found like already from the beginning this really nice in terms of like dynamic how it was wielded. Like I could immediately sense something that something was working on in terms of movement, and also with this music that were there, it was giving really like a feeling of oh wow, here was like slow, and also in terms of level. It was like one person came, the second one was down, and it was like kind of slow, and then the music was like pulsating, and it was really giving me really feeling like something is going on. And when I was watching each individual, I don't know, like I could experience something, and it was like, and especially with this light, it was very poetic. I mean, I find it very, very poetic, and also in terms of shoes, like what now you said about this daily life, I found this movement not pretentious, which I found very, very beautiful quality, which is not pretentious. It's like, yeah, I could see really human body, and then like how they relate to each other. It was very beautiful, like on the walls, different scenes here or down, or one person moving here and there. I mean, it was for me very, very nice, and also with this music, it gives me good sensation. And at the end, when the music was changed and you were giving like kind of sort of comments or sort of like guidance, what should I do? For me, it lost the secret that has at the beginning. I was like, whoa, something going on. But then I feel like, oh, now I know what will happen. And now they will come close. Now they will exit. This what I found the secret. But from the other hand, the secret was really nice, and also like I had a sensation that the button can be pressed. Like the button can be pressed and it can like go through the stage. But I believe that it could happen like maybe 1 week more, and this button will be like very good. But I like it.
I mean, I think that's what we look for, like working as a human being and not as a dancer. Like he always has not to dance, like not to show, not to produce, but just be.
I noticed everybody looked really serious, even when you started interacting with each other, and even when the music also changes. So I was curious if there was any specific intention behind this, or there was a mood that was set, or.
think it happens a lot of times, like also for me, my experience of performing, like through the concentration. So yeah, I think sometimes, you know, like it's like good to remind oneself when, you know, can also be silly or break that or just smile at another person. But I mean, it's interesting in terms of me shouting things in because that's how we worked the last couple of afternoons, and so we had an agreement that I'd be doing this. And when you started, I felt a little bit like, oh, I don't feel like I have to. But then I was like, but if I don't, do you feel left alone, you know? So then I was like, oh, maybe I can, you know, give like this little thing or that. And so it was a funny experience in that sense where I was like, I could just, you know, go with whatever I did. But I think also in terms of like how to make a setup like this rather informal, you know, I mean, I realized I was nervous just, you know, like being outside and shouting things in, so, but it was an attempt to also be transparent a little bit of how we have worked, which isn't quite an answer to what you asked, but, you know, yeah, maybe from my side I can say, I know when I perform I tend to be more serious, because, you know, it's a moment. So it's a good reminder.
No, I was just curious if it was like everything set or. Thank you.
Anything else from you?
Anything to add from your side or from the audience? Otherwise, I would like to thank you all. And yeah.
And thank you very much and everyone who made it possible.
Now we can clap because the dog may get crazy now because Jan is free. Well, I would like to thank all of you for coming here, taking the risk to come here, and hopefully in some weeks it will be much easier to organize something like this. And I always find it a very precious thing to meet so many young, energetic people who are becoming artists or are already artists, as we can see here. And I would like to thank you very much. I hope you took something out of it and can take some more questions home, maybe more questions than answers, but you have plenty of time to go, and just don't stop learning. Even if you finish your university, I think it just begins. So tonight we are going to have some food somewhere,
Yes,
Stephanie?
so the next step is, so there will be the jam here. And I just let you know it's like on your own responsibility. So in terms of the hygienic measures, up to you as it's taking place outside of the official program. But be careful. I feel like mom is
I also would like to thank Marie and Johannes from the Evanson School for hosting us for the second time this year.
And their whole team for providing us with this great food.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you to Sophie, Sarah, and Nicole for preparing salad for you.